having trouble telling how I feel, but I can dance.
So as you guys know, sheer is back this season, and it is a really cute style for the summer. It's very light, very breezy, and there are many ways to style a sheer shirt, and one of the ways is to wear a bandeau. Today we're going to be making a bandeau out of old pillowcases, and I have one here. This tutorial is actually very easy. It's cheap or even free. I hope you guys enjoy, and I'll see you later. So the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to grab your elastic and you're going to measure it across your chest, or where you want the top of the bandeau to rest on. And make sure you guys are wearing the proper bra, because a bandeau is a bandeau and it's not a bra, so it won't offer you the proper support that you would like. It would be better if you measured this wearing just your bra, so you don't have any materials blocking your way, and it'll be as accurate as possible, but this is going all over the internet, so I am doing it with a shirt. So stretch it comfortably across the top. Don't leave it too loose and don't have it too tight, so that if it was too loose, it'll slip right off after you make your bandeau, or if it's too tight, then it'll leave unsightly bulges where you don't want it to be. So mine would be around here. So keep that point marked. So once you've found your area of comfort, have it here, but also give it about an inch of allowance, so when you close up your elastic you'll have space to sew it on. So you cut it, and then after you've done that, set it aside, and we can move on to the next step. We're going to take apart the sides of the pillowcase, and you can see here I've already taken one side out, and this is the side with the seam. So using a seam ripper, or if you don't have the seam ripper, you can use scissors, but just be a little more careful. Take apart one side of the pillowcase, and the next side doesn't have a seam, as you can see, but we're just going to cut that out. So the next thing that you want to do is you want to cut your fabric, and because your elastic is 3/4 inches long, you want to give it 3 times the amount of seam allowance, because we're going to be folding over the fabric. So it'll be 2.5 inches of seam allowance on each side, and with 5 inches in the middle and 2.5 inches of seam allowance on each side, you're going to want to cut a 10-inch wide piece of fabric and cut it all the way down the length of the pillowcase. So I finished cutting the pillowcase, and I sewed one of the elastics down. I actually sewed the top part of the elastic down to the top part of the bandeau, and I will show you guys how to do that with the bottom elastic. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be sewing the bottom elastic to the bottom of the pillowcase, and you're just going to have to set your sewing machine to the zigzag stitch, just the one that looks like this. And how you sew elastic is you have the elastic aligned to the bottom of the pillowcase, you lock it into the sewing machine, and then first you pull the elastic, but not too hard, and then you take your finger and you're lightly pulling on the fabric. And just let it feed into the sewing machine. Make sure that while you sew, you can pause a little, stretch, and continue sewing, so that you'll have an even amount of tension in the elastic throughout the whole seam. So this is what the finished elastic would look like, and you can smooth it down so that it'll be more even. It doesn't have to be exact, because we're going to be folding it over. So for the next step, we're going back to the top piece of the elastic, and what we're going to do is we're going to fold it down just along the edge of the cloth. The reason why we're folding down the elastic is because we don't want it to be itchy when we wear it, and when we're finished, you'll have a cleaner edge at the top. So go forward, backtrack. Remember to keep pulling on the elastic. So now we're going to do the last fold over, and for all the other seams, it was okay if it wasn't straight, but for this one, try to be as straight as you can while you're pulling the elastic. Do the same on the bottom side. So remember, you flip, sew, and then flip again, and then you sew a nice straight line down the end. And after you guys are done that, I can show you guys how to close up the bandeau. Now we're going to cut off the excess fabric of the pillowcase, the sides that are not sewn down with elastic. When you cut it, it'll be straight and you could close off the bandeau straight. What we're going to do now is we're going to take the bandeau, and with the wrong side facing out, so facing you, you fold the bandeau in half and connect the two pieces so we can pin it together before we sew. And remember, you had about 1 inch of seam allowance. So you can pin the bottom and the top elastic, and you can pin down the middle also. It's up to you. And because this is an old pillowcase, we have a seam that we hadn't taken out before, which is probably the opening of the pillowcase. We're just going to follow that line and close off the bandeau. So if you guys can see, there's a nice straight seam down the line again. So now there's 2 of them, and just to be safe, we can sew 1 extra line down the middle, and then you're done closing off your bandeau. So once you're finished, this is what your finished bandeau will look like. And here is the final step. It's optional, but I like to do it because I like to give it more of a shape. Is you find the midpoint of your bandeau and place something in between the top layer and the bottom layer, just like a ruler. And what you do is you start pulling and pinching, and make sure this is even. This is called ruching, and it creates a pretty shape to the bandeau that you commonly see in retail stores. All you need to do is keep that pinched, sew it down the middle, and you'll be done. This is the finished product. You can wear it like this. Or like this. Bye guys, I hope you guys enjoyed the tutorial.